Hello, welcome to Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I'm Jeani, your guide for the next hour here at the community room at the ACC. What we're doing, I'm going to lower the volume just a little bit here. What we're doing today is our usual warm-up, walking sun salutations that are modified. And basically we'll be moving then into a class designed around our shoulders, getting some relief and stretching hopefully in the upper back and in the usual areas as well. So that being said, let's go ahead and start at the back of the mat. We're going to be moving slowly through predominantly a shoulder floor based class today. So just having blocks and the strap nearby. That's about all the props that I can think of for now besides your blanket. So as we settle in, giving ourselves the time to arrive, feeling the mat under the feet, just checking in with how we're feeling at the start of our practice. We can start to focus our breath, bringing the left palm to rest on the chest and the right palm underneath the belly button. Just notice for the next few breaths how the air enters the body, how it may move those points on the chest and the belly, and how it exits the body. Again, perhaps moving the hand on the chest and under the belly. So as we begin inward, the breath starts to slow down. We can start to bring our movement and breath together with a little more focus. Let's go ahead and lift up the heels, lift up the toes, resetting our mountain. We're going to inhale, feel the energy at the soles of the feet lifting through the body, all the way up through to the crown of the head and beyond. And as we begin the exhale, imagine that energy returning through the body, returning, feeling a little more rooted at the feet and the core engaged. With the next slow inhale, we're going to start to bring the weight towards the toes until we find that tipping point. And then use the next breath to start to slowly bring the center of gravity towards the heels. And with the next few breath cycles, just explore that heel to toe shift in your center of gravity. And then we can meet back at center, somewhere at the tops of the feet. Sinking into our mountain, inhale to reset, a little longer, a little taller each mountain. And as we're energized upwards, we're just going to slowly exhale out towards the right side of our feet. Inhale all the way up and maybe even past to the other side. And then we're going to use this two-part breath to just shift from side to side until we find that identified foundation at our feet in this horizontal direction, meeting back at center. Diving in once more, energizing upwards, we're making small circles in one direction. At about the ankles, feel these circles radiating outwards towards the edges of the feet. And as we begin to find that edge, hopefully we can start to tighten in those circles once that's identified and meet back at center. Go ahead, one more time, inhaling nice and tall and making the same journey in the opposite direction. Body nice and upright. And then tightening in the circles once we find that perimeter and returning to center at mountain. Let's go ahead, lift the feet, heels one more time, moving on up the body. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of an ankle roll. Just lift your right heel, give it a little circular roll at the ball of the foot in one direction, and then gently in the other. You don't have to grind down in the ankle. Go ahead and let that heel land gently. Inhale, lift the left heel, start circular motions at around the ball of that foot, one direction, and then the other. I'm hearing a lot of popping in some of my joints, and you might hear a little bit of that as well. It's just getting a little lubrication in dry, creaky bones. And then we'll go ahead and settle back into our mountain, moving up the body. We're going to start pivoting on these heels, just as we did those ankle rolls. But we start to introduce a little swivel from side to side before we start pivoting on the heels. And just give yourself some time to feel the movement here. As you shift from side to side, and more of the body becomes in line with that other side, you'll have a deeper pivot on the heel as your body turns. We don't want to twist your knee or your ankle. Feel that nice fluid movement from the ankles through the hips, feeling the movement in the arms as they're very relaxed like noodles, just starting to gently tap the body. No active initiation here at the arms, just a gentle swinging. And then we'll let that momentum peter out and return back to center. So hopefully you've gotten a little bit of energy movement there. We'll move on up to the shoulders. So standing nice and tall in our mountain, let's go ahead and inhale. Shoulders lift up. Exhale, roll them back and let them melt down, tucking into the mid-back, the points of the shoulder blades. And as we complete 4 of these rounds, then we're going to switch the direction on the exhale on the next round. So go ahead, lift up on the inhale, exhale, roll them back and down. I think this is one last one for me. And then we'll start our second round, but this time lifting up on the inhale and rolling forward and down. Still tucking it in, those shoulder blades, nice flat wings down the mid-back. You can use that ocean breath to facilitate each of these small movements. And moving all the way up to the throat and neck and mouth opening. Let's go ahead and reset the mountain, feeling the energy all the way up through the crown of the head. Inhaling completely. Exhale, let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. Inhaling to feel long. Exhaling, turn the gaze and just release through the left side of the neck. Palms facing forward if you can. It just helps to keep that space open between the shoulders and the ears. And after 4 good deep breath cycles, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the head all the way back up. Then we can exhale over to the other side, keeping that nice space between the ear and the shoulder, turning the gaze with the exhale, and letting the next few breath cycles help to release the right side of the neck. And in our usual warm-up here at this stage, even the eyes can benefit from a soft gaze, just letting it rest at the leftmost side. After your very last exhale, we'll go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the head all the way back up to center, and then just let the eyes drift down towards the top of the mat. And here, just allow the breath to help guide that length to the back of the neck with that slight tilt forward at the crown of the head. And give yourself that opportunity to feel length at the back of the neck, still maintaining the space at the front. And those deep, controlled inhales and exhales. After your very last breath cycle here, we're just going to inhale the gaze back towards the midline, past it, and up above us. Once we can look somewhat above, just stop craning the neck and allow the next 4 breath cycles to guide some release in the mouth, in the tongue, in the front of the throat. And notice if you shift at the balls of the feet, at the soles of the feet, at the hips. Notice if there's any transitional off balance movement. See if you can bring it back into balance. All the while just finding that space and finding the release with each breath. And after your very last breath cycle, we'll go ahead and bring the eyes back to center. And at this point, just release anything residual you may not be aware that you're gripping or hanging on to. And we'll start our modified sun salutations with our forward folds. So just standing in our mountain nice and tall. Go ahead and reach downward with the fingers. Feel that reaching energy. Inhale, extend the arms above the head. And then exhale, engage the core, bend the knees if you need. And we're going to float a straight back, walking the hands down if you need, until we can unfold in our first ragdoll. We're just basically giving ourselves 5 good deep breath cycles here, small movements, maybe a small bend of one knee and a bend of the other. If you find that straightening the legs are a little tight right now, give yourself some time to open up. Those deep breaths in, the pauses, and the deep breath out. All those breath cycles conscientiously given to sound like the ocean wave to help you release. You can always see about bobbling the head. See if your neck is holding onto the weight of the head. Maybe nature can help give you that release with the help of gravity. Okay, so as we're ready to come out of this first lengthy fold, our ragdoll fold, we want to engage the core. So press into the feet, firm up the legs, firm up the belly, and start to slowly press into the legs. We're going to unfurl the spine. You can walk the hands up. And as we slowly bring everything back online, head is the last to land on the neck. We're just giving ourselves a breath or two to let the blood rush back to the head, feeling our soles of the feet and our even distribution of support there. Let's go one more time for a fold. Reaching downward, inhale, the arms extend above. Exhale, hinge at the hips and fold. In here, give yourself one nice long inhale. Sometimes I do the half lift back here, sometimes it's up there, but give yourself a nice long fold. We're going to press into the legs, a nice half lift here where we're at about a 90-degree angle, feeling the energy from the tailbone to the head as well as from the tailbone to the heels. And then exhale back into the second fold. Let's go ahead and inhale. We're going to extend through the arms, once more firming up our core, but this time you can either curl back up slowly or come up with a straight back. Either way, a strong inhaling and engaged core all the way back up to mountain. Hands down, heart center. Let's go ahead and start our walking meditation. Inhale, right foot up, exhale it down. Inhale, left foot up, exhale it down. And if you feel a little wobbly, go ahead and press into the palms. Firm up the belly one more time. See if you've lost that engaged core. And that might help to bring you back into balance. At the top of the mat, let's go ahead and look down at the fingertips. Inhale, press into the palms. Watch the fingertips rise. Exhale, separate the palms and hinge at the hips with an engaged core. All the way back down here. In the fold, we're fully exhaled, engaged core. Inhale, half lift. Lengthen through the legs, through the tailbone, spine, to the crown of the head, and exhale to the fold. Bring the hands to the feet, somewhere on the mat. Step a right foot back and left. Inhale the shoulders over the wrists, and then bring the knees down. Untuck the toes, and we're going to meet in this modified high plank, feeling the tops of the feet and the shins supporting the lower body as the arms, protracted shoulders, nice wide fingers are giving us good support at the upper body. One more deep inhale, bring the belly to the spine. We're going to tuck the toes, lift up the hips, and bring the hips all the way back to down dog. Go ahead, let's bring our head somewhere to the upper arms, giving yourselves the next 5 breath cycles to feel out your first dog. Your down dog can be walked. Let's go ahead and bring a bend to one knee, and then go ahead and straighten that leg. Bring a bend to the other knee. And then you can also just come up to both tiptoes of both feet, and then slowly lower the heels downward. We're feeling energy moving down to the hands from the tailbone and down to the feet from the tailbone, as well as energy moving the hips up. So we have this upside down V shape with 2 points at the hands and the feet that's opposite from that energy direction at the hips, at the apex. Something to think about. Take one more deep inhale. Keep a deep bend to the knees if you need. Look to the hands. We're going to walk the hands to the feet, to the fold, hopefully at the back of the mat. Go ahead and step back if you need. Fully exhale here. Let's inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, engage the core. Come on up, your choice. Exhaling, hands down, heart center in our second walking meditation. Inhale, right foot up. Exhale, the right foot down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale it down. Inhale, right foot up. Exhale, down. And at the top of the mat, looking down at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Inhale. Exhale, separate the palms and fold. Exhale fully here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands. Step a long right leg and a long left leg. Inhale, a high plank. Full high plank this time. Fingers are splayed. Energy is strong from the heels all the way to the crown of the head. Protracted shoulders. Strong, supported, extending down into the palms and the belly button. Engaged core, sticking to the spine. One more inhale, let's lift the hips. And exhale, bring the heels downward into our second and last downward dog. Giving ourselves 1 more, 2 more maybe breath cycles here. Giving ourselves whatever feels good. And then with the last inhale, let's look to the eyes, to the hands with our eyes, and bring the hands to the feet, to the fold at the back of the mat. Fully exhaled. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, come on up, back to mountain. Exhaling, hands down, heart center, and finally down to the side. Let the breath return to its natural state. Take a drink of water if you'd like. And we're going to move into our Warrior One. And we did a little bit of that last week. So think of, we're not going to fold into the Warrior One, so we're going to leave the blocks where they are. But as you can, hopefully if you recall from last week, we had the hip orientation to think about. So as you're at the top of the mat, and we're moving into our balancing exercise here in our Warrior One. We're going to step with the left leg back. And it's just a foot maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but it shouldn't really be more than, say, 1.5 feet, 2 feet back. And we're kind of keeping an eye on these hips. Are they focused at a corner of the mat, or are they focused at the top of the mat? We really want these hips both perpendicular to the top of the mat. So this back leg might need to have a bent back knee. It may need to be up on the ball of the foot. However, we want the hips to be facing forward, and we're working on bringing that back heel down and keeping heel to toe alignment to the top of the mat. If we can get to that point, we're hopefully bringing our legs into a straight configuration instead of bent knee. But these are all things we're working on. So until you can get the hips to stay in this forward position, work on getting the legs aligned at your pace. So once we have that stability at the legs here, let's go ahead and lift up on this left heel if it's down. Just pivot it inward, just slightly, and look downward. Notice if the bottom of the back of the heel is in alignment with the inner top foot. We just kind of want to have this left foot heel pivoted inward while this back heel is in alignment with the inner arch of this front foot. Just like that. And with the hips in the front, we can then raise the arms somewhere above our head. Some of us might be out in front. Work on bringing up the shoulders, bringing up the hands above the head. But you're also working on keeping the stability of the foundation. So do what you can. Let's go ahead and exhale, bring the arms down, bend that back leg, and then lift to come back to mountain. Give yourself a nice little gentle bounce. And then we're going to move with the back, with the right leg back this time. Standing nice and tall in our mountain. Let's go ahead and inhale, and then exhale, step back with the right leg, right foot. See where that brings you. If you stepped back, did you really pivot drastically to the right? Then just give yourself that opportunity to pivot back perpendicular to the top of the mat. Both hips are in line with the front of the mat. We're trying to find that stability at the base of our foundation here, at the feet. See if they're rolling to the outer edge. Is it really difficult to keep both the heel and the toe in one alignment? And at the same time, the hips squared to the top of the mat. So we're just bringing that into a bearing here, and manifesting that, inhaling. And then once we found that foundation, go ahead and exhale, and then bring the arms up with the next inhale and extend somewhere above our head. Out in front, working towards above our head, while keeping the hips facing forward and the legs eventually long. Keep the bend to the knees if you need. And then bring the hands down. Let's go ahead and pivot up on this right heel and lift up on the right heel and pivot it inward one more time. I'm bringing that hips forward once more. Just try to lengthen through the legs and inhaling arms once more above. And finding hopefully that stability. And then exhale, hands all the way back down. Bend the back knee somewhat and shift your weight so you can come back to mountain at the top. We'll go ahead and give ourselves a nice little bounce. Lifting heels, moving shoulders, walking backwards apparently, and any little movement to kind of reset the body and let go of the last pose that you had. We're going to move on down to the floor, and I believe we're coming into a hero pose with tucked toes. So if you have a special way of getting into this that you know works for you, if you need to have your block supported, if you are not at that toe tucking situation with the hero pose, then you can keep the block here. You can keep your toes untucked. You can lay the weight underneath your, the support of a blanket underneath your shins to support your weight. But as we're here, coming into a toe tuck if you're able to, then sitting upright. And all we're going to do here is bring our hands together with our knuckles, lifting upwards. And again, it might be out in front, might be directly above, might be somewhere that you're bringing the arms up above with the toe tuck. And then go ahead and let the arms down. Shake out the shoulders, see if you can release. If you can still stay with the toe tuck, stay. If not, untuck your toes. We'll be staying in here for just a little bit longer. Bring out the arms out to the side, bend the elbows, and we're just going to sweep the right elbow over towards the center of the chest. Left hand just helps to support this right elbow. And then gently inhale. Feel nice and long in your torso. Exhale, draw the elbow towards the heart a little more. You'll feel this opening in the back of the right shoulder. A gentle tuck of the chin finds length to the back of the neck. Inhale, release the arm. Exhale, let the hand and right arm just dangle at the side. Left arm can relax as well. Go ahead and untuck those toes. Tap out the feet. You can just rest the knuckles in the opposite direction of your toe knuckles there, and then we'll come on back. Sitting back on the heels or your block or your blanket. One more time. But this time when we bring out the arms to the side, have the palms face back, or below, palms face down. And then we're going to exhale. Just let the arms gently sweep and relax back behind us. Maybe they land, the backs of your fingers land on the soles of your feet. Maybe they're at the sides of your hips. But we just kind of want these hands, these arms oriented at least at the sides, if not a little further back than the hips, so that you can round those shoulders back a little bit, and then down and relaxed. If you can hold on to a hand, go ahead and do so. Switch to the other hand if you can. If you can hold on to forearms, elbows, it's up to you. If you can do one arm, don't forget to do the other side. And then once you get that back opening of the back orientation of the hands to help you open up the front of the chest, we'll bring the arms back to the side. Go ahead and lift up, press down with gorilla fists if you need to help lift up your hips. And now we're going to bring the palms in front of us and just lift up the left knee a little bit so you don't apply pressure to it. We're going to open up the heels a little bit. So shift your weight, open up the right heel, and then we're going to come back down. Again, we're going into fixed ferns, so use your block if you need to, sit on it, sit on the lower setting if you need. But we basically want to feel that the orientation of our sits bones are either on the heels or in between, cradled in between those heels. And as we're here, we have an internal rotation of the thighs here as our toes are pointed back behind us. And here, we're just going to bring up the right arm up above our head, somewhere out in front of us, doesn't matter, and then bend your elbow. Rest your right hand either at the back, the small of your, in between the shoulders, at the nape of the neck, or at the head, wherever you can. You're trying to keep the right elbow that's above pointed towards the ceiling, but again, it depends on the openness of our shoulder. So with that one there and just resting, we're going to inhale, this left arm goes up and just sweeps back behind us. Once more, the back of the hand is either at our hip, our sacrum, our backside, but this time bend your elbow. See where that lands, this left hand. And then eventually, if you're able to, you can bring both points of the elbows in opposite direction, but closer to the body. The right elbow going towards the head, moving towards the ceiling, left elbow near the left hip, moving towards the floor, and maybe the fingers can hold at the back. One more deep inhale, nice and long torso, exhale, release, and sort of just windmill over to the opposite direction. See where you land. Give yourself one more deep inhale. Hopefully my mic is not crushing into my neck. But we can bring hopefully now the left elbow up towards the ceiling, closer to the head, right elbow closer to the right hip, down towards the floor. Get that opening now in the opposite position. See where your hands can land. Funny thing is, for me, I cannot barely touch fingers on this side. You may need a strap. You may just need to rest your hands in those general areas in the direction of these holds. One more deep inhale, and then we can windmill the hands back, down. Just let them relax. Gentle tuck of the chin, and shoulders nice and released. Palms up. Let's go ahead and bring the palms down. Press into the floor so you can lift up the hips. We'll go ahead and walk the hands up. Bring the ankles closer to each other once more. And then we're going to move to the right side with the hips, or I guess the left side. And we're going to unfurl the legs in front of us and meet in an easy seated position. And I know that's a relative term. So this easy seated position just means don't trap your ankles underneath your knees. You can have one foot, one shin out in front of you. Take note of which leg that is. I have my left shin above, and I have my right foot tucked near, but not completely under this left knee. Bring your blocks to help you support the knees if they're not laying flat on the floor. Most of us don't have that sort of flexibility with the hips. And then once we're in this easy seated position here, we're just going to bring the arms out to the side, inhale them up, and then turn to the right while you're still bringing that energy upwards, and then exhale, bring the hands down. Feel nice and long from the tailbone, gentle twist to this right, all the way to the crown of the head. Exhaling, draw the belly button to the spine. Inhale, arms come up, and as we're still lifted upwards, we're going to turn all the way to the other side until we stop. And then we let the arms go down. Let the palms rest and land where they will. Inhale, tailbone, all the way through this gentle twist to the other side, to the crown of the head. Find that length in the inhale. And with the exhale, nice and long, engage the core. And then we can inhale, arms come all the way up. We energize upwards, and then exhale back to center. Hands down, heart center, down to the side, palms down, fingers pointed away from you. And we're going to inhale, left arm up, pivot the right fingers towards the front, and then press into that right palm so you can lean over. Inhale, breathe through the left rib cage, through the left extended arm, all the way through the fingertips. Bend through the right elbow if you have to find extra length. One more deep inhale. One more deep exhale, engage the core. And then inhale, press through the right hand, lift all the way back up. Bring the left hand down. Fingers pointed away from you. Inhale, right arm up. Pivot the left fingers towards the front. Reach up. And then exhale, bend the left elbow as you side stretch to the left now. Find that right hip is glued to the floor. The right sits bone is glued to the floor so you can stretch all the way from that anchor point through your ribs, through your armpit, through your right arm, forearms, and the fingers. Give yourself a gentle wave of the wrist. You might be able to get a little more release. One more deep exhale. Press into the palm with an inhale to help launch yourself all the way back up to center. Both hands come up. Exhale, hands down, heart center, and down to the side. Let's go ahead and release the blocks. And we're going to find our way down to our belly. So slowly just let the knees, windshield wipe to the other side. You might be a little fragile here, so just coming on to your belly. Be nice and slow and safe. If you need to put a blanket down on the floor, that might help if you have bony hips. But we're coming on down to the floor for the first time. And as usual, especially since we've been flexing our hips for a while, that should feel really nice to be on a supported floor for the hips. So give yourself some time to unfold. Your hips have been flexed for so long, they may just still feel tented. Eventually, you can find release in the glutes, in the hamstrings, in the quads. Maybe even the heels just roll away from each other. Just relax the legs. And as you bring your face to the mat, you can have it either resting on the apple of a cheek, or you can have it on pillowed hands. Just give yourself that few breaths as we're talking now. to just find that release while you're on the belly. All right. Now, wherever you are, bring the face back to the mat. Just hover it above the mat. See if you can bring the hands above the head. And we're going to start to inch the elbows somewhere above our head. We may not be able to get it all the way up, our elbows above us, so just do the best that you can. We're just going to hopefully find some support for our forehead. And if we can get our elbows and our backs of our arms to be rested there, we can just release the palms, the fingers down the back, the shoulders. And kind of like when we were stretching in our hero fixed fern positions, we can have the elbows pointed somewhat upwards. But if your armpits are really tight, you might have to lift up the head somewhat. You might be able to rest your head. So it is just a point of trying to find release at the back of the arms, upper arms, at the lower shoulder blades, at the mid-back here. That nice wide protraction of shoulder blades moving away from the spine. You can rest cradling the back of the hands on the skull, on the back of the head. You can interlace the fingers. You can just release. All right. Take a couple more deep breath cycles here. The inhales, the exhales. Pauses in between. And then we're going to lower the arms. Let the backs of the hands, the full arm extend to the side. And you can rest the apple of the opposite cheek on your mat. Give yourself just a moment here to release through the upper back. See if your shoulders were tented, if you can just give yourself a couple of breaths to see if they can lower down to the mat. And then you can press through the chest gently to just give yourself enough space to turn the head. And once more, your face is going to be supported, hovering above the mat. And we're just going to have the backs of the hands, extended arms at our sides, and the face and the nose, the chin are all just gently supported on the mat at this point. We're going to inhale and just lengthen through the right leg, just long, supported by the mat. See if you can lengthen that leg down the mat. And then release that right leg. Take another deep breath and start to lengthen through the left leg. Point the toes slightly. See if you can press through the ball of the foot there at the big toe, right about there, just to lengthen through the right leg, engaging the length of the leg with the support of the mat. And then release that. Take another deep breath. Okay. And one more time, we're going to inhale, extend through the right leg, pointing it downwards. It's just extend through it. You don't want to hyperextend your knee, but if you can lock the knee so that you engage the right glute, the hamstrings, the quads, the calf, so that you have one long pointed leg, and with that leg engaged, see if you can lift it. You might just hover the top of your foot just a little bit above the mat, and then just let that release back down to the mat. Take one more inhale and extend through the left leg. Extend and engage the entire leg. Point through the toe so that it's one long extended leg. And then see if you can use the whole leg as one unit to lift slightly the entire leg. Maybe the top of the foot just lifts and you can barely hover above the mat. And then release it back to the mat. And then let's go ahead and walk the fingers up, bringing the forearms, elbows underneath the shoulders, and we're going to release through the glutes and just gently roll from side to side on the hips. Go ahead and tap out the feet if you need, and then roll one more time. We can extend through the right arm. We're going to meet on our back next. And all I like to do sometimes is just roll onto my side, but I do end up having to roll back. Slowly moving a little bit, my hips and then my shoulders, coming back to the mat. If you have a favorite way of finding your way back to the mat, feel free. But we will be meeting on our back in a base bridge position for our final pose before we move into Shavasana. So here, go ahead and allow your feet to just rest. The soles of the feet should be firmly on the mat, and then just let them relax. You can let the knees kind of fall out a little bit. You can find that the center of your gravity at the soles of the feet, just roll a little bit to the edge. You don't want to lift up on the inner arches, but you can find that just gentle opening, that relaxing of the hips. As we're doing that, we're going to start to pivot in the heels and the toes until we can get the outer edges of the soles of the feet to meet. So when your feet are flat on the mat, then we're going to start to roll on the outer edges and bring our feet closer so that we can have the inner edge of our soles of our feet touching. Inner or just maybe the outer. Just see what you can do. So your ankles are folded, you're on the edge of your, the outer edges of your feet, and the soles of the feet are touching as much as is possible here. So you have this nice relaxed supine butterfly. We have our knees open and relaxed hips, getting a very good deep hip opener. If you need blocks to help support the thighs, the knees, if you feel a little fragile here at the hips and you just want to have these blocks to help support you, you can do that. If you like gravity to help open you up, that's good too. But you will be in a sort of a deep hip opener here for the next few breath cycles. So we're just breathing here, relaxing the back of the neck, the sacrum. If you find that you're straining with the neck, then go ahead and bring the knees up closer. Bring less of the soles of the feet. If not, just return the feet to the base bridge. But we're just trying to find just a gentle relaxing, a falling out of the position of the hips so that we get a good opening. Now as we come out, we're going to bring our hands to the sides of the thighs and gently help guide them up. If you've had a really deep hip opening, you might be a little fragile. You don't want it to catch and feel that electrical shock or anything. Just bring it all the way back up. Bring the soles of the feet back, fully supported by the mat. And then we're going to bring the hands out to the sides and just let the knees roll to windshield wipe to the side. One side of your feet. And just let that deep windshield wipe to this one side kind of unfold for the next few breath cycles. Hopefully you feel the top hip opening. You feel this deep stretch on the inner thigh of this top hip. And you might find this top knee gets a little closer to the right ankle, to the leg that's on the bottom. And eventually you may find the leg on the bottom completely rests, lays on the floor, or maybe it just stays hovered in the position that it naturally landed. Take one more good deep inhale, one more good deep exhale. Bring the palms to the floor. And if you need to, if you find you need that core support, help bring the knees back up with the help of your right hand. Inhale, bring the knees back, the sacrum back to the mat, knees back to center, and adjust your base bridge once more. Make sure your your neck and your spine is in alignment. Your neck isn't curved out to one side or the other as we transitioned back. Keeping the feet about hips distance apart again. Palms down, hands out to the sides. We'll go ahead and inhale. And then exhale, let the knees windshield wipe to the left. Slowly rolling to the left sides of the feet, soles of the feet. And taking the next few breaths to savor the deep windshield wipe to this side. Times like this,
You're finding the first 3 to 5 breath cycles. Really, that's to help you kind of arrive at that comfortable stage, to find out whether you've gone too deep or not. But after you've found that sweet spot, taking the next set of breaths, another 3 to 5, to see if you can just change maybe the orientation of your gaze. Maybe it's the palms facing down or up. Maybe it's that little bit that helps you to find that exquisite point of release. And then you may find something just releases on its own. Let's go. And as we prepare to come out of this last side before entering Shavasana, we're going to inhale, palms are both on the floor. And if you need to, help your knees back up to center with the help of your left hand, rolling the sacrum, the back, onto the mat, knees centered, pointed towards the ceiling. And then make any adjustments you need, any last minute movements. Maybe you might like to roll your ankles, stretch your toes, maybe an overhead stretch of the arms, an extension of the legs, whatever it is before we move into our final pose of Shavasana. I'll be sitting upright to mind the time. But in Shavasana, letting the feet relax, the palms face up, and giving yourself just that time to respond to today's practice. Let the belly be soft. The tongue releases from the roof of the mouth. And when you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. Okay. So I guess I can answer that question after class, but I'll address it after we wake up.
bringing the mind back to the body. Take note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Open your eyes if they were closed, and just feel the rise of the chest with each inhale, the fall of the chest with each exhale, and begin to connect to the body by bringing movement to the fingers, the toes. You can feel your thighs, you can feel your shoulders. You can give yourself any stretching, any movement to help bring the body, breath, and spirit back together. We'll meet in an upright position to close out our class with our exercise breath. And I did want to mention, before we end class, we're going to address a question by a student on a substitution for down dog when hand placement is limited. So stick around after the breath exercise, and we'll talk a little bit about that if you can. So in the meantime, we'll just end class today with our alternate nostril breathing exercise. So bringing the left hand into our chin mudra, thumb and index finger touching. We'll rest that hand on the left thigh. Right hand into a Vishnu mudra, index middle finger on the mount of the right thumb. Close the right nostril with the right thumb, left nostril with the right ring finger. And if that's too much, just bring the two fingers to rest on the brow while you change between the right thumb and right ring finger knuckle to close the nostrils. So we'll go ahead and inhale deeply here, closing the right nostril with the right thumb. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Last round. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Release the right hand. Release the left and right mudras. Let the breath return to its natural state. Bringing the hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC Community Room for Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste. And if you'd like to stick around, I'm going to try to give a little demonstration of a substitution for down dog until maybe a couple minutes afterwards or so. So stick around. Otherwise, we'll see you again when we see you. Bye-bye. Okay, so for down dog, the way we use down dog is in our sun salutation. So the tricky part of that with the hands is if it's difficult to have the hand placement of down dog while you're here, it might be difficult for the hands while you're also in that previous point of our high plank, whether modified or full. So what my suggestion to you is, before we're moving into these positions, like as we come into the forward fold, and then you're cued to step a right foot back and a left foot, and the first one is always that modified one, you might need to kind of preset your situation where you have a blanket, maybe at the top here, and I'm not sure where your hand placement is, but if it's too hard to put the heels down, you'll want the fingers off of the fold of your support blanket here. That might help with your hands, whether it's in down dog, whether it's in a high plank, full, or modified. But when you're cued to have your hands down supporting you under your shoulders, you can have a supported blanket folded under the heel of the hand, so the fingers are out there. You can have your hands out, instead of being at a 90-degree angle of the shoulder over the wrist, you can have more of a, I guess, a supplemental angle, a bigger angle, so it's not quite bearing down, and you have a little less bearing down weight on the wrist. So if it's a matter of, say, arthritis, keeping the hands up and you have to roll out to the side, it might be that you need to have maybe those special hand towels kind of rolled to help you strategically place it so that you can feel that support. You really don't want to hyperextend this wrist forward, right? We're always talking about keeping it either at a 90-degree angle or a little back to help with that support. So depending on the placement of the hand, you may need to have something so that you can at least get the hand to be supported with whatever situation is with the fingers, so that you don't have this too much weight bearing onto the wrist. Another situation, if placing a blanket underneath the hands does not help you here, is to use forearms perhaps. So here, when you come all the way down from forward fold, you might have to go all the way down to the shins then at this point and come here to your forward fold. And then when we go into our down dog, just shift back the knees a little bit, making smaller movements. But that might be an option as well. But really, without knowing where your hand placement is an issue in the down dog, those are really the kind of superficial adjustments that you can make. Having something to support the heel of the palm so that you can get as much of the palm to be flat on the floor. But some of us, if we have arthritis, we're working on doing this. So that might mean that instead of a full down dog, you're doing a modified from here with shins and forearms, or again, a folded blanket. And might be something that might be better to advise for you in person too. So you're always welcome to stop on by, and I can talk to you after class or before class too. Okay, so whoever that was, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope that helped.